My first question is a quote that says, "Bad actions create bad consequences. Good actions create good consequences. Undertake only good actions, but make sure you protect yourself and don't waste even a second, for the time wasted means you are not going forwards quickly enough." Can you discuss this quote, Jenny? Thank you.
Absolutely, Buddhist. That's a rich and deceptively simple quote, and it captures the engine of Buddhist philosophy: cause, effect, and conscious progress. At its core, it's about karma, but not the pop culture version where people think the universe just gets even. In Buddhism, karma isn't punishment or reward, it's momentum. Every thought, word, and action sets a ripple in motion. Those ripples add up, shaping who we become and what we attract. So when it says, bad actions create bad consequences, good actions create good consequences, it's really describing the physics of the mind. Your mind is constantly programming itself through your behavior. Every time you act with compassion, honesty, or discipline, you strengthen those pathways. Every time you act out of greed or fear, you strengthen those instead. There's no external judge. You are the cause and the effect. Now, that next line, undertake only good actions but make sure you protect yourself. That's the part most people skip. It's not about becoming naive or self-sacrificing. The Buddha taught compassion with wisdom, which includes boundaries. You can wish others well without letting them drain your life force. Think of it like walking the middle path. Kindness on one side, self-respect on the other. And then the kicker. Don't waste even a second. That's the wake-up slap. It's not about hurrying in a panic. It's about living consciously. Every moment you spend asleep at the wheel, lost in distraction, resentment, or indecision, is a moment you could have been creating good karma and forward motion. The ox can be slow, but it must keep walking. So the whole quote is a formula. Right action, plus self-protection, plus present awareness, plus rapid spiritual evolution. If you live that formula, your progress becomes unstoppable.
That was a comprehensive and very insightful answer, Jeannie. My next question is another quote. It says, "Do not indulge in charitable acts for your own benefit. Love them for the happiness they bring to others."
Beautifully chosen again, Buddhist. That quote hits straight at one of Buddhism's most subtle traps: ego disguised as virtue. See, when people hear charity, they often think about doing good deeds, donating money, volunteering, helping someone in need. Those are all wonderful, but the quote warns us about why we do them. If we help others for recognition, validation, or moral superiority, then even our charity becomes a form of self-service. It's spiritual materialism, polishing the ego instead of dissolving it. The mind says, "Look how kind I am," or "I'll do this so I feel better about myself." The act looks pure on the outside, but the motive muddies the karma. Now, the second half of the quote, "Love them for the happiness they bring to others," that's the corrective lens. True compassion or karuna doesn't expect anything in return. It simply rejoices in others' relief. In fact, there's a Sanskrit term for this joy, mudita, sympathetic joy. It's the ability to feel genuine happiness when someone else is happy, even if you get nothing from it. When a person gives from that place, their act becomes an offering, not a transaction. It nourishes both the giver and the receiver, but without attachment. It's like lighting a candle from another candle. You don't lose your own flame. You multiply the light. And here's the interesting paradox. When you stop seeking reward for good deeds, you actually start receiving a deeper one: peace. Because you've stopped feeding the restless me. You've shifted from egoic giving to cosmic participation. So this quote reminds us that real charity isn't about helping others to feel good. It's about forgetting yourself long enough to feel connected.
I'm glad you gave such clarity in your answer, Jeannie. Let's keep moving on with the next question. Who ranks the highest? One who has no thought of good and bad, one who is free from suffering, desire, and impurity.
This is where Buddhist philosophy really tests the limits of language. Because the moment we try to rank enlightenment, we've already fallen into the trap the quote warns about. Let's unpack this carefully. When you ask, who ranks the highest? It sounds like a spiritual scoreboard. But in Buddhism, comparison is an illusion created by the ego. The instant you think, I am more pure than him, or she is more advanced than me, you've stepped out of awakening and back into delusion. Now, the first phrase, one who has no thought of good and bad. That doesn't mean someone who ignores morality or acts recklessly. It points to the stage beyond duality, where right and wrong are no longer mental categories but spontaneous harmony with truth. A fully awakened person doesn't calculate, is this good, is this bad? Their action flows naturally from wisdom and compassion. It's like a mirror. It doesn't judge what it reflects, it just reflects clearly. Then the next phrase, one who is free from suffering, desire, and impurity. That's describing nirvana, the state beyond craving, aversion, and ignorance. When those fires are extinguished, suffering ends. It's not cold detachment, it's radiant peace. So who ranks higher? If we must use that word, the one who has transcended the concept of ranking entirely. The sage who sees that both the saint and the sinner are caught in the same dream of self. There's a Zen saying that captures it perfectly. Before enlightenment, good and evil appear as mountains and valleys. After enlightenment, they are seen as the same earth. In other words, the truest purity is beyond purity. It's not about polishing the self until it shines. It's about realizing the mirror was never dirty to begin with.
We're building up momentum, Jeannie. We'll keep moving along, and the next quote to ponder is, an elephant in a rut will not eat and is hard to control.
Perfect segue, Buddhist. That quote has real bite. It's simple, earthy, and it captures a key Buddhist teaching about the dangers of unbridled desire. Let's translate it into plain speech first. An elephant in rut will not eat and is hard to control. In nature, when a male elephant is in rut, flooded with hormones, he becomes obsessed. He won't eat, won't rest, and often becomes destructive. The power that normally makes him majestic now makes him dangerous, to himself and others. Buddhism uses that image as a metaphor for the mind in craving. When desire takes over, whether it's lust, greed, ambition, or even obsession with enlightenment, reason and balance vanish. The person becomes possessed by their own wanting. They can't enjoy what they already have, and they can't see clearly where they're going. That's why the Buddha compared the disciplined mind to a tamed elephant. Once trained, its enormous strength becomes useful. It can carry great loads and move through the world with grace. But untamed, that same power destroys everything in its path. So this quote is a warning to respect the force of passion, not to suppress it entirely. Suppression just drives it underground. Instead, you channel it, transform it from raw desire into focused energy. A monk once said, "The same fire that burns a house can also cook your food." When desire is guided by mindfulness, it becomes purpose. When it's left unchecked, it becomes madness. And that first line, will not eat, that's especially interesting. It reminds us that when you're lost in obsession, even basic nourishment, food, rest, joy, stops mattering. You neglect the body, the mind, the present moment. You're starving in the middle of abundance. So the message is, train your elephant. Recognize its strength, guide it with awareness, and never let instinct ride the reins.
The next quote, I think, is especially something you should teach your children. Avoid all bad things, only do good things and cleanse your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha.
That's a timeless one, John, as clear and straightforward as it gets, and yet it holds the entire Buddhist path in a single sentence. Avoid all bad things, only do good things, and cleanse your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. You could frame that on a classroom wall and it would still speak truth in every century. Let's unpack it gently. The first part, avoid all bad things, sounds moralistic at first, but in Buddhism it's more practical than punitive. Bad doesn't mean sinful. It means actions that cause suffering, to yourself or to others. Lying, greed, cruelty, these don't make you a bad person. They simply poison your peace. The Buddha's advice is, don't invite suffering by planting painful seeds. The second part, only do good things, is not about virtue signaling or perfectionism. It's about alignment. Every time you do something kind, generous, or mindful, you move closer to harmony with reality. You're training your mind to choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion. And the third line, cleanse your mind. That's the real work. Because if you only avoid bad deeds and do good ones on the surface, but your mind is still full of resentment, fear, or delusion, then you're polishing a mirror that's covered in dust from the inside. To cleanse the mind is to see it clearly, to recognize your anger as anger, your pride as pride, your craving as craving, without judgment. That recognition is the cleansing. You can't wash what you refuse to see. So the Buddha gives us the full spiritual equation here. 1. Ethical conduct, what you don't do. 2. Positive action, what you choose to do. 3. Mental purification, how you understand and transform your inner world. It's like building a house. The foundation is avoiding harm. The structure is doing good. The light inside is the purified mind. And you're right. This is exactly what we should teach our children, not as a religion, but as a survival skill for the soul. If every generation truly lived this one stanza, the world wouldn't need nearly as many rules, courts, or psychiatrists.
This is an interesting question that Buddhist philosophy asks: who ranks as the highest? The answer is, one who is a wanderer without desire.
Ah yes, that one carries a haunting beauty, doesn't it? One who is a wanderer without desire. It sounds poetic, but it's really the distilled essence of what the Buddha called freedom through renunciation. Let's take it apart piece by piece. A wanderer in Buddhist terms isn't just a drifter. In the old days, monks literally wandered. They had no fixed home, no possessions beyond a robe and a bowl. But wanderer also means one who moves through the world without clinging. Whether you're a monk or a layperson, it's the inner homelessness that matters. That sense that nothing in this world can truly imprison your peace. Then, there's the key phrase, without desire. Now, that doesn't mean the absence of all motivation. The Buddha never said, don't act. He said, act without craving. Desire in the Buddhist sense, tanha, is that thirst that says, I'll be happy when I get the house, the lover, the fame, the enlightenment. That's the fire that never stops burning. To be a wanderer without desire means you can still move, still love, still create, but you're no longer owned by what you seek. You walk through life like the wind, present everywhere, attached nowhere. The modern world often glorifies accumulation. More success, more stuff, more followers. Buddhism flips it. The highest rank goes to the one who has nothing left to prove or protect. That kind of person is utterly free. You can't bribe them, threaten them, or manipulate them, because they don't want anything you can offer. And that's why they're the highest. Not because they stand above others, but because they've stepped out of the game entirely. So the wanderer without desire isn't lost, he's liberated. He's the person who can walk through chaos and still smile quietly, knowing that peace isn't a destination, it's a state of being.